Hi, I'm Eddie Obeng, and this is How. Daily, I bring you a different tool, idea, framework, concept, which will make your life much better in this complex new world we live in. Today, I want to share with you one of the tools which transformed my life. I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I'm going to try and explain the tool. And then hopefully you'll take some time to learn how to do this. This is probably the most important solution in a complex world. You'll know my quote. You might know my quote. Don't be arrogant, Edward. You might know my quote, which I say, events evaporate and patterns persist. This is how you find the patterns. It's called blowing bubbles. So let's jump onto Cube and let's have a look and see what we can find. So welcome to Cube. This is my executive cubicle, very posh, as you can see, St. Paul's, and we're on Cube. So therefore, the sun is always shining. Okay, so let's have a look at this blowing bubbles thing. So I had a session once, which I was sitting in, and there was someone else talking, and he was talking about one of the challenges. And he was saying, you know, the challenge when you sit in a boardroom is if the numbers have gone off the cliff and you have a board of directors and you say, what's the problem? The marketing director will say, well, it's a lack of our ability to do marketing. I need more budget. The engineering director will say, our product looks old-fashioned. We need to invest in new equipment and new engineering. The manufacturing guy will say, it's because we can't manage the quality. We need to really focus on that. The salesperson will say, oh, it's all about the fact that we don't have the right incentives for the sales. We need better bonuses. And the HR person will probably say, we need to develop our people and skill them up. So all the board members give you slightly different answers. And the question is, why do they all give you different answers? And the reason is because they see the world from their point of view. And the reason behind that is because there is no such thing as a simple problem which has one cause. And so they might all be correct, but as a CEO, you end up choosing one. And that's why organizations go round in circles over and over, not necessarily being able to close. I remember years ago, I had a birthday and I was given, you remember this, you know the candles you light the candles, and then when you blow them out, they come back again. You know, light them, blow them out, they come back again. And that's a situation many organizations find themselves in. They try to look at and understand what's going on in great detail. They look at it almost frame by frame by frame, and yet they end up with the problem which goes away and then comes back again. So this technique was first sort of popularized by a chap called Socrates. And he had this idea that he wanted people to be able to think. And so he built his method. The other person in the picture is a chap called Eli Goldratt, who was very much my mentor. He wrote the book, The Goal. And Eli Goldratt took Socratic thinking and turned it into something called an effect cause effect diagram, which I then took and turned it into blowing bubbles. So this is where the idea comes from. So let's start and pretend it's spring. So it's spring, which it is in the UK. So in the Northern Hemisphere, as you know, the daffodils, beautiful yellow flowers come out, the birds start to sing, and so on and so forth, okay? So here's the challenge you have. The challenge is very straightforward. When you ask people about a problem, most people do exactly the wrong thing, okay? Which is they do what's called incidence research. So if you go to a university, they'll tell you, you're going to do research for your MSc, MBA, whatever it is. So find 1,000 CEOs, okay? And then CEOs, interview them, 1,000, okay? And then ask them, why is business not doing well? And then make a little graph like this. And the graph will have different things. Business is not going well because of sales. It's not going well because of manufacturing. It's not going well because of HR. And make a little one of these things, like an incidence diagram, okay? And then what you do is you then write your paper to say 79% of CEOs said that manufacturing challenges were driving their potential for what they're going to do in the year 2029. I'm just making it up, okay? And when you read the news, all the articles are like this. This is what's called incidence. It's like a poll. You just take what's most popular and you go, well, it's the most popular thing, therefore it must be right. How stupid is that? So the other one, if you're more sophisticated, is you go to statistics classes, and they teach you in statistics classes, they teach you things like, you know, you should be able to do error limits and confidence limits and correlations. And so they teach you something which is slightly different. They go, well, let's look at the business performance. And let's look at high business performance and low business performance. And let's look at the ones who focus on sales, manufacturing, and HR, for example. I'm just making up. And they'll do a graph like that. And the graph will go like that. And then I'm just making up the graph, okay? And then you go, so our research shows that companies who focus on manufacturing are more likely to show return. This is what's called correlation research. And the reason I showed you the spring picture was because this is another misunderstanding of reality. So in the spring picture, okay, you will say, you can imagine somebody could conclude that when the daffodils come out, the birds start to sing because they correlate, okay? So you could almost conclude that the daffodils are making the birds sing. No, they're not. They just correlated. It's because the sun has come out and it's warm. So whenever you find something which correlates, it's because it has a common cause. Let me say that again. Every correlation has a common cause. Why is that important? Because if it has a common cause, then if all you do is look at the correlation or the incidence, then every time you blow out the candle, it'll come back because you haven't done anything about the common cause. I'll pause so you can think about that. So almost everything, almost every single business, government, institution is doing to try and improve is completely pointless, a waste of time. And they are burning up your life. You must do better. So how do we get out of this mess? Well, first of all, we have to map not just the common cause, but the entire problem. And that's what we call a bubble diagram. A bubble diagram is a causality map. So, for example, we might start by saying, oh, the sales are down, okay? The sales are down, which we saw on our original graph. But also, I don't know, our staff are leaving, and I don't know, the government has just been kicked out. I'm just making it out. So these are the effects which you see. And then for each of these, you go and you collect, oh, is it because of the HR activity? And you have a long discussion. Yes, no, it's not the HR activity, etc., on each one. And every single time, if it's a good bubble diagram, you check to see whether or not it actually is a decent cause. And you expect multiple causes, and you build a map of all the causes. It's called the bubble diagram. And once you built a map of all the causes, okay, sorry about that. So once you build a map of all the different causes, you check them as you go. When you learn the technique, you'll see, check it, is it true? Yes, etc. But you build a multi-causal map, and somewhere in this multi-causal map, there are anchors. I call them anchors. Why? Because they're what hold things in place. So they're just like a ship anchor. Everyone will call it a root cause. I often will use that language, but just to get people on side, it's an anchor. It's holding you where you are. So in my language, this is the problem, not a single one of these. And these are anchors. And if you can find them, then you can solve it. So that's what BlowingBubbles is about. You basically spend some time looking at, what are the key issues, and then using the technique. And if you go to the quick guide, it'll teach you. You build the whole bubble diagram and you find the anchors. Then you can decide whether you're going to pull these anchors or not. And if you're not going to pull the anchors, how you're going to dance around them. So that's how you solve problems. You understand the big pattern, the whole problem, all the interconnected causalities. You find the anchors. You decide whether you're pulling the anchors or not. Sometimes the causalities go in a loop. In that case, you have to snip the loop in two places. Otherwise, the problem goes away and then it comes back again because it's reinforcing. But all those techniques are yet to come. This is only how. This is a quick guide introduction. You're going to have to do a little bit more work. Have a look in the book, All Change. It shows you how to do that. And also in the book, The Complete Leader, explains how to build bubble diagrams. So I've been Eddie Obeng, and you've been listening to Blowing Bubbles. And I'll see you again on how. Take a look at the quick guide and subscribe to the newsletter. See you again.